Hey Spurs fans, welcome back to another update on our San Antonio Spurs. Before we jump into today's breaking news, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. That way, you'll never miss the latest stories, big announcements, and exclusive Spurs coverage. The landscape can change in the blink of an eye when plausible negotiations begin to circulate. Imagine a proposal capable of adding a top-tier wing and a reliable veteran to the San Antonio Spurs rotation. A deal designed to immediately accelerate the team's transformation into a legitimate contender. This is the central idea behind the rumor involving Trey Murphy III and Saddiq Bey as pieces headed to Texas, a concept born out of a cold assessment of a season that has, so far, unfolded very differently than what each involved club originally planned. The narrative must begin with what is at stake. The Pelicans have been stumbling through injuries and inconsistency, accumulating fluctuations that have drained their collective momentum. Meanwhile, the Spurs, despite the inevitable challenges that come with rebuilding teams, have shown concrete signs of evolution, a recent stretch of wins suggesting a core in the process of maturing. Adding an external piece to this mosaic is not mere daydreaming. It is a strategic attempt to fill clear gaps in the rotation, with an eye toward complementarity and balance between youth and experience. At the heart of the imagined proposal mentioned by analysts is Trey Murphy III, a player capable of creating spacing, igniting the offense from the perimeter, and pushing in transition with a rare level of intelligence for his position. Alongside him, Saddiq Bey would bring defensive stability and the profile of a dependable wing, someone who embraces unglamorous tasks without complaint. Together, these traits represent exactly the type of supporter group led by a generational talent like Victor Wembanyama needs. Reinforcement that doesn't overshadow, but amplifies. The suggested price, however, is steep. The hypothetical trade would involve Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochan, and the young Carter Bryant, along with a shelf of future draft picks, including second-rounders and multiple first-round selections spread out over timelines that stretch well into the next decade. At first glance, the cost seems exorbitant, but it must be viewed through the exchange rate between immediate potential and long-term assets. The Pelicans, in a process of rebuilding or reshaping, could convert those pieces into sustainable value. For the Spurs, the gamble is different, accelerating the present without completely dismantling the foundations of the future. From a tactical point of view, Murphy's arrival would solve a very objective problem: the need for consistent spacing so that Wembanyama can operate more freely in interior areas. Murphy opens passing lanes, forces constant closeouts from opposing big men, and consequently creates corridors for cuts and drives. Bey, in turn, would energize a strong perimeter defense, improve coverage in pick-and-roll situations, and bring situational experience, the kind of presence that reduces mistakes in playoff-level battles. Together, they offer something that no future draft pick, no matter how promising, can guarantee: measurable production right now. The immediate impact on the rotation would be evident. Imagine a starting lineup with Wembanyama at the center, Murphy sliding into the opposite corner, and defensive commitment, in this case a reference to an already established player, occupying the other wing. The offensive sets would become more complex, featuring handoffs, constant movement, and the potential for quick reversals into the interior. On the defensive end, the fit would allow the Spurs to switch more aggressively on the perimeter, know exactly when to collapse inside, and maintain cohesion in their rotations. In short, less predictability for opposing teams. Skeptics will not be lacking. The main objection is the same one that always arises when future assets are traded for present results. It means risking longevity for a window of opportunity that may or may not fully open. However, there is a critical distinction to consider. When the incoming pieces fill an explicit need, spacing, defensive versatility, shooting ability, the risk stops being purely speculative and becomes strategic. And it is precisely this dimension that transforms the proposal into something plausible, not just romantic. 3 scenarios are possible, and they deserve to be outlined clearly. First, the optimistic scenario. With the right chemistry and no significant injuries, The reinforcements spark an immediate leap. The team locks down a high position in the conference and becomes a favorite in postseason play. Second, the moderate scenario. Overall performance improves. Home results get stronger, but elimination comes in tightly contested series where small details decide the outcome. Third, the adverse scenario. The pieces do not adjust quickly. The future value given up limits replacement options, and the franchise is forced to shift its focus back toward rebuilding. The trigger separating each of these paths is simple: tactical adaptation and the physical health of the key figures. Beyond the on-court plan, there are ripple effects to consider: the city's market, locker room morale, and the relationship with the fan base. A blockbuster trade shifts expectations, boosts ticket revenue, and attracts media attention. Factors that, in turn, place additional pressure on the team to deliver on its promises. Internally, the arrival of players with clearly defined roles reduces ambiguity in the rotation and demands less experimentation from the coaching staff. Externally, rivalries and opponent game planning intensify, forcing swift adjustments and collective intelligence. Before we go on, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support keeps our Spurs coverage strong and brings you the latest updates straight from San Antonio. And jump into the comments. Tell us what you think about today's news. The video begins with a slow panoramic sweep over the empty AT&T Center. Lights dimmed, banners swaying almost imperceptibly in the still air, and as the camera glides past years of history stitched into the rafters, a sudden spotlight illuminates the center of the court where a single jersey lies folded at mid-court, the number 23 gleaming faintly in the silence. And then a familiar deep voice echoes through the building, calm yet electrifying, saying only, "It's time for a new chapter before." The screen cuts to black, and the words that stun the entire basketball world appear. LeBron James signs with the San Antonio Spurs for 3 years. Within seconds of the announcement, the sports world erupted into chaos, disbelief, and pure adrenaline, as one of the greatest players in NBA history chose a path that almost no one saw coming, leaving fans, analysts, and even former teammates struggling to process how the face of a generation had just aligned his legacy with one of the most disciplined and culturally rich franchises in professional basketball, sending shockwaves not just through Texas, but through every corner of the global sports universe. For the San Antonio Spurs, a franchise defined by quiet excellence, structure, and a long-standing tradition of fundamentals over flash, the arrival of LeBron James felt almost surreal, like a collision of two basketball philosophies meeting in perfect, unexpected harmony, as if the past, present, and future of the league had suddenly converged at a single point on the hardwood. LeBron's decision to commit to a 3-year deal carried weight far beyond traditional free agency news, because unlike any ordinary signing, his arrival instantly shifted the balance of power across the NBA, forcing rival teams to rethink their strategies, their rosters, and even their championship timelines, knowing that when LeBron commits to a mission, history often follows closely behind him. In San Antonio, the news spread like a tidal wave through the city, fans gathering outside the arena in disbelief, some in tears, others in stunned silence. Many wearing jerseys from different eras of Spurs greatness, all united now by a single realization. Their team, long respected for development and discipline, was now officially the new epicenter of global basketball attention. The front office, known for its calculated, patient approach to building success rather than chasing headlines, broke their silence with a simple but powerful statement, affirming their belief that LeBron's leadership, vision, and championship mentality perfectly aligned with the new direction of the franchise, signaling an era that would combine wisdom and youth in a way rarely seen in modern sports. For a roster filled with promising young talent, the arrival of LeBron James was not just a roster upgrade, but a transformative moment in their careers, as players found themselves preparing to train, compete, and learn daily from an athlete whose basketball IQ is spoken of in almost mythical terms, a living playbook of experience and discipline walking into their locker room. Victor Wembanyama, the towering symbol of the Spurs' future, suddenly found himself standing at the crossroads of a once-in-a-lifetime mentorship, with observers around the league already imagining how LeBron's strategic mind and Wembanyama's physical and technical gifts could merge into one of the most dangerous combinations the NBA has ever witnessed. From a basketball standpoint, analysts scrambled to redesign the Spurs playbook, envisioning a system where LeBron could orchestrate the offense with surgical precision while unleashing the full potential of the young core around him, transforming San Antonio from a rebuilding project into a legitimate title contender in a matter of moments. Opposing coaches privately admitted to reporters that the signing instantly changed the atmosphere in the Western Conference, as every matchup against the Spurs now carried a completely different psychological weight, knowing that experience, leadership, and a relentless pursuit of victory had been added to an already dangerous developing squad. At the same time, the media frenzy surrounding the move reached unprecedented levels, with sports networks dedicating entire days of programming to breaking down every possible outcome, every lineup variation, every strategic implication, as if the league itself had been rebooted in real time before the eyes of the public. Merchandise lines stretched around city blocks, purple and silver jerseys now bearing the iconic name James flying off shelves at record speed, as fans young and old rushed to claim their piece of history, knowing instinctively that this signing would be remembered for decades as a turning point not just for the Spurs, but for the sport itself. Beyond the court, LeBron's influence immediately began to reshape the cultural identity of San Antonio, with community leaders, youth programs, and local organizations preparing for an influx of attention, opportunities, and inspiration fueled by a global superstar who has built a reputation not only as an athlete, but as a leader, philanthropist, and voice of an entire generation. Critics, as expected, quickly emerged, questioning whether signing a veteran legend in the later stages of his career was a gamble, a publicity play, or a genuine belief in a final championship run. Yet those doubts were swiftly drowned out by voices reminding the world that LeBron James has defied every conventional timeline placed in front of him. What made this move particularly powerful was not just who LeBron is, but where he chose to go, selecting a franchise built on teamwork, respect, and long-term vision over immediate spotlight. A decision that many saw as the ultimate validation of the Spurs culture and the environment they had cultivated for decades. Former Spurs legends publicly praised the signing, speaking about how LeBron's relentless pursuit of excellence mirrors the values that defined their own championship years, and how the blending of that mindset with San Antonio's discipline could give birth to one of the most intelligent and efficient teams the league has ever seen. Fans from around the world who once supported LeBron in Cleveland, Miami, and Los Angeles now set their sights on Texas, following his journey with renewed excitement, turning San Antonio into a global stage where history would continue to unfold night after night in front of packed arenas and millions of viewers. In contrast, opposing fan bases were left grappling with a new sense of urgency and dread, realizing that championship windows had narrowed overnight, that the road to the finals now ran through a city that had just weaponized experience, youth, and leadership into one formidable force. As training camp approached, cameras captured the first moments of LeBron walking through the Spurs facilities, shaking hands with staff members, smiling beside young players, and absorbing the quiet intensity of the organization, a symbolic passing of energy between eras that felt both surreal and profoundly meaningful. Coaches began crafting innovative schemes built around LeBron's versatility, allowing him to play multiple roles, from playmaker to mentor to closer, while giving the younger core the freedom to grow and flourish under the umbrella of his greatness, creating a dynamic balance rarely achieved in modern professional sports. Meanwhile, the league office recognized the magnitude of the moment, understanding that television ratings, international viewership, and global interest in the NBA were about to spike once again, driven by the magnetic pull of a player whose career has consistently transcended the boundaries of sport. For LeBron himself, the move seemed driven not by ego, but by legacy, by the desire to write a final, powerful chapter in a city known for turning teamwork into championships, and for transforming talented individuals into immortal figures etched into basketball history. Every interview, every practice glimpse, every preseason clip only added fuel to the fire, showing a rejuvenated LeBron energized by the environment, motivated by the youth around him, and determined to prove once more that greatness is not defined by age, but by mindset and purpose. The 3-year duration of the contract added an intriguing layer of mystery and anticipation, sparking conversations about what exactly LeBron hoped to accomplish in San Antonio, whether it be multiple championships, the development of future stars, or the crafting of one final masterpiece before the curtain slowly falls. In every corner of the basketball community, imagination ignited, with fans visualizing buzzer beaters, historic playoff runs, emotional returns, and unforgettable nights that would turn the AT&T Center into the epicenter of sporting magic once again. Even those who had doubted the Spurs' immediate future were forced to reconsider, acknowledging that with a single signature, the franchise had altered its narrative from rebuilding contender to championship threat, from patient planners to bold architects of a new era. Time will ultimately be the judge of how this story unfolds. But what remains undeniable is that on this day, basketball history shifted direction as LeBron James and the San Antonio Spurs aligned their destinies in a move that transcended logic, expectation, and tradition. And so the city waits, the league watches, and the world listens, because as the lights return to full brightness inside the arena and the echoes of bouncing basketballs fill the air once again, one truth stands stronger than ever before. When LeBron James steps onto the hardwood in a Spurs uniform, an entirely new chapter of legend is about to begin. That's it for today's update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of every exclusive San Antonio Spurs news drop, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. And don't forget, your opinion matters to Spurs Nation. Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video.